Hello and welcome to another episode of the Energy Exchange. My name's Jarrod Leak, the CEO of the Australian Alliance for Energy Productivity. Today we're going to get into metering, one of our favourite subjects. It is at the core of this industrial change and revolution and decarbonisation. So we really need to dive into this, and there's some really exciting news as well with grants programs. I'm joined here today at the beautiful Schneider Electric Innovation Centre by Carlo Boghdadi and Henry Spry. Welcome.
Thanks, Jarrod. Nice to have you here.
So if you could let's start with you introducing yourselves. What is your role here under Schneider Electric's sustainability or SE advisory? What's your role here, Carlo?
Carlo Boghdadi. I work for SE Advisory Services. I'm the Enterprise Sustainability Solutions Manager. I help customers to be more energy efficient, to decarbonise and to electrify.
Fabulous. And Henry?
Thanks, Jarrod. My name's Henry Spry. I am the Software Solution Architect for SE Advisory Services. I help our clients get their data into our Resource Advisor platform, which they use for energy and sustainability management.
And let's dive straight into the big sort of news at the moment, and that's this New South Wales grant scheme on metering.
Yes.
Pretty excited about this?
Yeah, I mean, New South Wales government is really leading the way and have been leading the way for the last few years. They've started with the Metering Monitoring Plan grant with up to $15,000 available for developing a report. And they've recently released the round 2 implementation funds as well, between up to $20,000 in one form of it. And if you haven't done a metering monitoring plan, and also if you've done a metering monitoring plan, you can get up to $100,000 for 50% of the project implementation costs, which is fantastic.
And we're going to unpack that, what you get out of this metering and what have you. Energy performance services as well. So this is a full spectrum to get people started and get really into the value of energy, yeah?
Absolutely. And that was the final piece of the puzzle. We've been waiting for that grant to come, and we've been hearing a little bit about it, and it's finally here, up to $50,000 for energy performance services. And that if you think about a site where you've got meters installed, this is the way to really truly get energy optimization across your site. So,
and what can customers and people with energy use, what can they expect to get if they implement this sort of program? Take us through what's some of the high level benefits that are going to come from this.
Specifically on the energy performance services, you can potentially achieve energy efficiency through reducing waste at your site. Across all your services, we're talking HVAC, gas, even water, although the government doesn't cover the water costs, but even water can be included as part of those services. But it's an ongoing service that allows use of the energy data that comes from those meters and finding opportunities in that data to reduce your energy consumption and your costs. And so through that EPS program, it can include things like your yearly subscription to your energy management system platform, some training, and then some support advisory services from people like us to support you to use your energy management system to drive down energy usage at your site.
Henry, how are you going to be involved with these services and these grants?
I think one of the really important and useful things in this grant comes in the plan. So as part of the plan that leads into the energy performance services, you've got this capabilities gap assessment. And I think most people would expect to be looking at the meters and sensors that are on your site and finding the gaps there. But this gap assessment encourages you to look at gaps in your ability to analyze and visualize that data. So you need to be able to take that data and turn it into information. So finding any gaps you have and being able to do that. But then also gaps in your business, either in your own team or in the consultants and contractors you work with, to be able to take that information and action it and get things done with it. So understanding where those gaps are, what you can use the funds for to make sure you've got a full program that starts with the data, goes through to actually making those changes on sites. That's where we'll be involved with. That's where we'll be setting things up. And then, we've got a full team and set of products and services that can support with filling those gaps.
So I see sometimes there's a problem with the cost benefit analysis there and how that looks and getting that over the line. Henry, any other issues? I mean, metering should be just loved by everyone. We got so many great stories here, Why isn't everyone just saying we need more metering? Does it sort of go wrong sometimes, or?
It can. I've seen clients who invested in meters and sensors and platforms to analyze and visualize that data. They have teams of people looking at it. But if the quality of that data isn't managed actively, you can get in a situation where you go to your data, you're saying, right, I've got this activity I want to do and I want to make the decision based on the data. But if there are gaps in the data or if the data is of a poor quality, you won't be able to do it. And we have a situation where we're asked to support with advising on our equipment upgrade, looking to see how we can get a right-sized piece of equipment, make sure that it's not oversized, suits the way the facility is operating right now. But we didn't have access to a full set of data. There were some devices that weren't logging for a period of time. And if you have an incomplete picture of what the previous existing equipment is trying to do, it's hard to make an intelligent decision about what the new equipment should do. So everyone tried to do the right thing. They had prepared for this, but unfortunately we weren't able to make a smarter procurement decision because of something that could have been prevented with an active data quality management program.
Active data quality management program. Got it.
Yeah, it's one of the most valuable services we deliver for some of our clients. Proactively telling them when these meters and sensors stop sending data to our platform, and then having a data correction engine inside our platform so that if there is a spike or a dip or a gap in the data we're collecting, you can make a high quality estimate, because there are events, power outages on site, things that legitimately do cause gaps in data. But if you have a calculation engine that can make high quality estimations to fill those gaps, you can still make good quality decisions with the data when you need to act on it.
One of the reasons why we like this sort of program at A2EP is it really helps with the transition. Maybe you're looking to change to get to renewable heating and what have you. And it's a case of, don't do design. Let's just say design without data is a disaster. Like, it really costs a lot. That's the one we look for and say, we know that's it. Give us some cases what you've seen. Maybe is there a certain building type that you guys have been working with, or what have you, that say, hey, this is where you've seen these programs deliver hard results?
We've seen really good results across a whole range of client types and facility types, whether it's a process-driven large factory, whether it's a set of small retail stores. We've been able to identify how they're using their energy, help identify energy wastage, and put them in a position to make better decisions with replacing equipment and upgrading equipment when the time comes. I think particularly on that topic of using the data to make better business decisions, we have a client that operates data centers. And one of their data centers, we spent some time analyzing their chillers, which is their biggest non-IT electrical load, identifying how they were performing. And by having a big set of data, both of how those chillers were performing, how their chillers in other data centers were performing, and then design documentation showing how, a replacement chiller would be performing, we help them build a really strong business case saying, here are reasonable expectations for what you can save with energy, with emissions, with costs. And we gave them that data, worked with them, helped them build a business case that was successful to upgrade their chillers. So yeah, it's a really good way to make data-driven decisions.
Data centers, great to know you guys are helping there, because it's such a major topic with the potential for how much extra electricity they're going to need. So this is crucial going forward. Carlo, you do a lot with commercial buildings. Give us some hard examples of where the money's coming from these sorts of investments.
Yeah, so we work with lots of commercial building customers. One recent example, and what drives commercial buildings in the first place to improve their energy efficiency is their NABERS rating, for instance. Now, energy performance services can take your rating from anywhere from 4.6 to up to the 5.5, as we've seen with some of our customers. Some of our energy performance services achieved some really, really wonderful savings across their HVAC, across their even their water facilities as well, as an energy and water rating as well that was improved to 5.5. And obviously for commercial buildings, that means greater abilities to charge higher rent, high capital value for their assets as well. So yeah, it's a positive thing to do, and it really takes a building from being just your standard to being really, truly energy optimized.
I mean, these neighbours ratings, these are worth a lot of money, that sort of increase.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not sure, I don't have the numbers at the top of my tips on fingers here, but we're talking millions of dollars here.
Absolutely. And you're potentially leaving money on the table if you don't go ahead and, if you've got an installed metering system and you're not using it to its full potential to drive energy efficiency, you're essentially leaving money on the table.
What else we got? Any other concrete examples here?
Yeah, I think, well, touching on energy wastage, I think with a program like Energy Performance Services, whether maybe you're planning to use this for equipment upgrades in the future, but I think that something that anyone can expect from Energy Performance Services is to identify ways to reduce your energy waste and save money. And we've seen that consistently, again, no matter what type of facilities you operate. We've worked with a retailer who had, hundreds of stores. Their key thing to try and focus on was reducing energy waste when the business is shut. So not making any money, they're still having to spend money. And we worked with them to try and identify ways to reduce energy wastage after hours through behavioral interventions, through little changes to control systems they already have. For them, we saw massive improvements. So within the first year, there was a 30% reduction in their electrical demand overnight. After 3 years, it was halved. For them, that's thousands of dollars of costs every day saved. And again, through low-cost interventions, they don't need to go out and buy new equipment. This is just retraining staff, making sure that, the air conditioning and the lighting equipment is following the business schedules, making sure that if there's maintenance activities or people come in to make changes in the store and they override equipment, that it gets set back to normal afterwards, and just new staff, making sure they know what to do if they're responsible for turning off the lights. Simple things that have a big impact when you add them all up across, hundreds of stores.
And the feedback needs to be timely here. If you want behavioural change, you can't wait a month for the bill to come in and changes here, gets lost in noise. Is that what happens with this service? It's a pretty quick feedback. You'll find out within hours, not days or weeks.
Yeah, typically with things like this, the way we operate it, we're collecting data from these sites. If it's from utility meters, we'll get new set of data for the previous day, the following day. If we're connected to sub-meters from on-site, we'll have that data within the hour. So these alerts can be run. Sometimes there will be changes in energy usage for legitimate reasons, but we'll be informing the client to say, hey, you're using more energy after hours, or this store is using more than a store of a similar size. All this information can be fed to them, used to make changes on site. And like I said, the cumulative effect of that for them with little tweaks here and there, just by having the data, having a system in place, knowing what good energy consumption looks like as well. Because it's going to be, it's a meter collecting data. There needs to be someone to give it context to say, this is what we expect, this is what we don't expect. And that's particularly important in process-heavy facilities as well. Like installing a meter isn't going to save you money. Acting on it and having someone who knows what it should be doing and be able to say, this is doing this because of this, and it should be doing this instead. That's where you can get savings from it. And we've consistently seen that.
And I picked up there, good energy consumption. I mean, using energy is not a bad thing. It's a great thing. So let's just not waste it. What do you just take a step back? Because what I've heard the last 5 minutes or so is this is great. This is perfect. Why is there a grant scheme that's helping this along then if there's so many benefits?
I think metering is often, it's different to your traditional ECM where you're replacing one thing which is inefficient to something that's more efficient. It's quite easy to establish what the savings are going to be and calculate that out. Whereas metering, it's you would go ahead and you install the metering, and then you've got to do some work, some performance services essentially to work out where your opportunities, where the savings can actually be made. So there's a bit of a challenge there to sort of know upfront how much savings there might be, and also you've got to track savings, right? You've got to track it somehow. You can track it over time and prove it over time once you've made these changes based off the recommendations and things that your consultant will provide you, right?
And this full package as well. So the metering planning, the implementation of that metering, and then the performance services. Is this going to get it ingrained? Is this going to kick off a bit of a revolution in manufacturing to say, wow, this is how we do it now?
Yeah, I hope so. It's look, from our perspective, these types of services and these types of initiatives stand alone. You should, if you've got a site that's inefficient, this is something you should be doing, without any government grant. But the government grant itself helps it along and makes it an absolute no-brainer, right?
Okay, so cost-benefit analysis can be difficult. But you guys have been doing this a while, and you've got lots of runs on the board. Why isn't it just everyone telling everybody you need to get metering, or everyone just sharing it in different forums, you need more metering, and this is that? Henry, any insights? Does it go wrong sometimes?
Yeah, for sure. Because you've made the investment to install your meters and sensors. You've made your investment in a platform to visualize it and analyze it. You might have people looking at it. I was involved in a situation where a client did have meters, sensors, a system to look at it. They expected to be able to look at this and make it a decision about, how to upgrade their chiller, right-sizing a new chiller, saying, what can we look for? What's the right piece of equipment for us? They asked me to support with this. I had to look at it, and it turns out that the thermal meters hadn't been logging data all through summer. So they'd done all the right steps, but when they came to the data looking to use it to make a decision, we weren't able to use data to drive a decision, just because not something that anyone had necessarily done wrong, but we didn't have the data there. And these things happen with metering systems, and it's not unreasonable to think that there are a lot of meters out there that either aren't networked and connected to platforms, that there aren't people checking in to make sure that they're being received. And sometimes the data is collected, but it's, the same value over and over again, like a stale value in a meter. So one of the most valuable things we do for some of our clients is a data quality service. So that is using our platform to monitor these data sources. If data isn't received from a meter or a sensor, proactively going to, our site contact and saying, we're not receiving any data. Is this expected? Have you removed it? Is there a power failure? What's going on here? Using that to pick up on these things before it becomes an issue. And where you do have gaps or dips or spikes in your data, our platform has a data correction engine that can help you give transparent and high quality estimations, so that even if you do have those little gaps, you can still have good quality data to make decisions. So I do think that may be something that has soured people's expectations if they were told that these meters were going to do all these things and then they come to use the data and it's not able to do that. So I think, as well as an investment on the hardware and the software, there needs to be an investment on governance for the data, to make sure that there are steps in place to make sure that if some of it's missed, if it's not of a good enough quality, that's going to be picked up. Otherwise you will be left disappointed, particularly if you're telling people that these meters are going to, improve your procurement strategy, and you can't do it.
If I think about this energy revolution we're in, and a lot of people are looking to decarbonise and save energy and what have you, there's a lot of concern about small enterprise. The big end of town, maybe they can invest in this and look after themselves. Does this platform, will this work for smaller companies as well? Is the full range of what you guys are doing good for a smaller company too?
I think metering can help for any size company, depending on. But I think it's you've got to focus on, for those smaller customers, what are they going to get out of what meters to be installed. So for those customers, it's like, where are they going to install the meters on their site? What are the challenges they're facing? The other thing that meters can be used for is to report on energy efficiency projects. So if they're undertaking an energy efficiency project, knowing what the energy is before and then the energy after, that's the sort of thing. And I think Henry had mentioned earlier that energy performance services can be used for, say, retail customers who might have a large number of small sites, for instance, and it's an easy way, or an easier way, to identify energy efficiency and cost savings across a large portfolio of smaller sites as well.
I like what you said there about the identifying those improvements, and when this holds your suppliers accountable. Someone comes in and says, "Here, we're going to install this piece of equipment." You're like, "Great, I've got the right meter in place, and you say it's going to do that. Let's make sure to do that." So
and the technology's come a long way as well in terms of metering. Back maybe 20 years ago when I first started my career, just a standard, 3-phase, single-phase meter. Now we have, single circuit ability, to where we can install single circuits on one distribution board, so you can literally know what is happening on each of your circuits, and it's quite cost effective. We use it all the time. and there's wireless technology to save on the labour and installation costs as well. So it's essentially a no-brainer even for those small sites.
I think in Australia, we're also really lucky in the availability of interval data from our utility meters as well. Like working with my colleagues in other countries, it is a pain to get interval data from utility grade meters, but with the program where we can receive like the M12 files into our platform, pair that with the on-site metering, like make use of the meters that are already installed for you at your sites, pair that up with your sub meters. That might be enough to make it feasible if you can take that one big meter out of the puzzle, and that way you've got, multiple sources of information coming into whatever platform you decide to use. It's a real benefit that we have.
And it's often, I think Henry touched on it, it's often making use of what meters are already there. Often we will go to a site and find isolated meters not connected to anything. They might have a site may have a BMS or a SCADA system. So it's like, how do we integrate and use whatever systems you have there already to minimise on the costs of implementation as well?
You mentioned about generally the getting a few meters on quite cost effective. Henry, small business, how can you help them?
It's probably the group of people we work the most with in Australia, at least, because we've got such good access to utility interval data. And if you've got a small enough, well, not necessarily a small enough, but a building with few enough different types of loads going on, and if you have a routine to the way that these energy systems operate, that single utility meter can be enough to inform you of how those different systems are operating. When your lighting starts, when your air conditioning starts. It's such an effective way from like a barrier to entry, because those meters are already there. You've got access to that data through meter data providers. It's a standard format that we receive hundreds of files each day from our clients.
So SE advisory is not just for the big end of town. You've got a business plan, a model for smaller customers as well there.
It's super effective, and talking about behavioral interventions before, that can often represent massive proportional savings in a small enough facility. So yeah, definitely.
Productivity, hello. Jens, it's been a fabulous chat here today. Any final thoughts or tips for anybody to get started? Where do you get started? Before I send the email through or pick up the phone and give you a call, what do they need to do? A bit of preparation work before they get into this, or just dive in?
Particularly with these New South Wales government grants in particular, there's a bit of eligibility criteria that you probably want to run your eyes over initially first. Always good to have all the your single line drawing ready, gather that, and maybe some energy bills as well. Get those ready, and feel free to contact ourselves if you're keen to sort of get started.
Yeah, I'd add to that and say that these grants are amazing. It's such a benefit, but even the clients who aren't eligible for that, we've seen really good economic returns on the work that we've done. So with energy performance services, using your data to make decisions, I think there are so many different things you can use it for. Again, whether it's eliminating energy waste, whether it's for making better procurement decisions, whether it's for verifying the impact of the good work your team's already doing to continue doing that type of work. There are so many things you can use it for. So we would be happy to explore that with anyone who wants to, get more value out of the data they have.
Brilliant. Let's see how these grants go.
For sure.
Well, thanks very much for having me here today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you both.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.